Yes? No? All right, guys, we're going to get started here. Welcome to Summit, our Election Day edition. Hey, I just wanted to let you know that we did reach out to Trump and Harris to see if they would join us today, but here's how it went down. Trump couldn't find anyone to cover his fake shift at McDonald's. Apparently they're short-staffed on the fry station. And Harris said she would only participate if we would go to her taking a pumpkin latte, and we had to keep it under an hour as well. I guess she's pretty busy planning her next TikTok dance. But don't worry, we have our trusty fact checkers here with us, Brittany and Alexis, and they're here to keep things accurate. So I should mention though that George pays their salary, so they won't be fact checking any of George's talk. But Jeremy, better be prepared because they're going to be fact checking only your comments today. So just remember, this is an election, Jeremy, and mudslinging is going to be okay. All right? So my name's Russ Orchard, and I approve this message. Now let's dive in before we have to start counting some ballots today. All right, so welcome to Summit. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. I appreciate that. So, all right, so we're going to start. You what? Oh. Okay, so we've got the save the date. So the first thing is that coming up on November 8th, we have our newest loan officer, Crystal Curley. She's going to be doing an exclusive mini branding photo shoot. So Crystal's hosting a shoot at her home in Murray on the 8th of November, as I said. It's a great opportunity to network, freshen up your headshots at a lower cost, and for the discounted price of $179, you'll get a 15-minute shoot with 3 hand-edited images by Purple Moss. So you can scan the QR code to sign up. There is limited availability. So if you're interested, jump on that right away here. All right, next, donuts and deals, prospecting with Inspiro Financial. It's time for you to get on the phones if you haven't been and start making some calls. So join us on the 3rd floor with Inspiro Financial on November 14th. You can network, grab some donuts, call your SOI, make whatever phone calls, and that's going to be hosted by Lisa Millam with Inspiro. Also a reminder, next, that UWM Realtor Experience. You don't want to miss out on an amazing opportunity to go to Detroit, Michigan in the middle of the winter to go and experience what that's like at UWM. But just so you know, UWM is a very impressive place, so if you go check that out, you will leave, I promise, recognizing, holy cow, they're pretty serious. So contact Jennifer Morris or one of your Inspiro loan officers if you want to sign up for that UWM experience. All right, next. It's Christmas is right around the corner. So we've got the Secret Santa that the Everest Community Foundation will be donating to families in need through our Secret Santa fundraiser. Stay tuned for additional information. A list of needed items will be available by December 3rd for you, all right? Next thing that we've got that you want to save the date for is December 20th will be our multi-level holiday party. And so if you get people and you put them underneath you in the multi-level, no, that's not what it is. No. Oh, okay. So it's not a multi-level pyramid holiday party. Sorry, my bad on that one. But make sure you join us. Last year it was a big hit. We had food trucks, a movie, treats, and more. So plan for that on December 20th here at the office.
Photos with Santa. So.
Also photos with Santa, I'm hearing from one of Santa's little helpers. So we have a special base camp that's coming up as well that's going to help you get the year kicked off right. So plan in your schedule for January 8th. George will be hosting a special 2-hour base camp where you're going to put together a business plan for 2025 so that you can hit the ground running and make a ton of money in 2025. All right, I think that's it on the save the dates. So next, announcements. We have a relocation contest winner. So we wanted to announce and congratulate to Derek Petros, the winner of the November relocation referral contest. Derek will receive a free photo session with Purple Moss Photography. Don't miss out on your opportunity to not only win, but to get business and increase your business. The average referral take home in 2024, just so you know, was $2,500. $2,500 for just making a phone call and sending an outgoing referral. So don't forget about that, and hopefully you can win and get some photography to go with it. So our next relocation contest for November is well underway. It's the 5th of November, as we already talked about. So you get 1 entry per referral for the monthly contest, and a raffle will be held at the end of the month. The winner will choose between either headshots through Purple Moss or listing photos through Amart. So you can decide either pictures of yourself or pictures of your listing. And I know how most of you agents are, you're gonna want a picture of yourself. Because some of you need to do some pictures updated of yourself as well. Alright, so the quarterly raffle will be held at the end of each quarter for the chance to win 1 year of MLS dues too. So that's kind of exciting. Alright, next is the TC department. Don't forget about the TC department. They're there to help you make sure everything gets done. I know for me as an agent, the worst thing that ever happened was I always went to my closing and then went to go pick up my check and they're like, hey, you're missing paperwork. If you use the TCs, that should not happen. You should be able to get paid right when the check comes in, so hopefully. Alright. And then last thing, we already talked a little bit about Crystal Curley, but we are so excited to have her as a senior loan officer with Inspiro Financial. And just to give you a little bit of info on Crystal, she's a highly accomplished mortgage lender with nearly 2 decades of experience, making waves in the industry since 2006. Her expertise has earned her a spot among the top 1% of loan officers from 2020 to 2022, consistently closing over 200 deals each year. Crystal is deeply passionate about empowering her clients with the knowledge they need to navigate the home buying process and find loan programs that perfectly match their needs. And before she entered the mortgage world, she had dedicated 8 years to nursing and that same compassion and drive to help others shine through her work today. So she's still using those same skills as a nurse to be compassionate with her clients. And she's also involved with the Homes for Heroes program. And beyond her professional success, she's a proud mother of 4, fluent in Italian, and an adventurous traveler with a special love for Italy. So it's a good thing, I guess, she speaks Italian, so with that. But Crystal's blend of expertise and personal warmth ensures that her clients feel confident and cared for every step of the way on the path to homeownership. All right, next. Your Inspiro team, as you can see on the slide, they're always available to answer your questions, help you through the loan process, and to help navigate your buyers through this crazy market and get them into homes. And then finally, the last thing we've got on our list here is the Thanksgiving Heroes. So it's November, it's time to start thinking about that, and we will be supporting the Thanksgiving Heroes. And that will go from now until November 22nd. So if you want to make a donation, there's a QR code there that you can scan, and that will help to make sure that families are not going hungry this season. So, all right, next we're going to go through and do our Everest anniversaries. And is that what we're doing? No.
Yep.
Yeah. Anniversaries or the...
Here, I'll get you this. It's on your slides.
All right, here we go. All right, 5-year anniversaries. Here we go. So for 5 years now with the company, we've got Alicia Vera, Cameron Richardson, and Deborah Morgan. So 5 years, congratulations. Thanks for sticking with us and being here. We appreciate it. Next, 10-year anniversary. So here's the people who are celebrating their 10th year with Everest. We've got Bruce Johansson, Jeanette Davis, April Oakes, Debbie King, Leanne Baker, and Darren Castaigne for 10 years. And then next is 15 years now with the company. We've got Matt Johnson, Stephanie Barnes, Jason Carlson, and Michael Higgins. So, all right, next. Are we doing the awards or Jason? All right, Jason. So Jason's got the compliance. Since you got me as the MC, you don't have to hear from me on compliance. You get to hear from Jason today. So
turn it over. All right, thank you. Russ didn't want it to be. There we go. Russ didn't want it to be the Russ show, so he said, "Put Jason in there." And Brittany's like, "Oh, really?" We would be laughing more if it wasn't true. All right, so last week, Russ and I had an opportunity to talk with an attorney, and we were talking about a case that's coming up, and a lot of evidence was stacked against the defendant on this one. And so Russ and I, when we were talking to the attorney, we thought it was just gonna be this easy, okay, not a problem, everything's gonna be taken care of because it was just a slam dunk. But when we were talking with the attorney, what happened was he was finding every single detail possible to give any doubt whatsoever in the case. And when he found one, he said, that's our angle. That's what we're gonna go with, and we can win this. And I thought that was really interesting. So I'm gonna show you a couple things, because the details in our contracts are really important. So if you could pull up the first one. So this one is commas make a difference. Okay, so first one is let's eat grandma, and the next one is let's eat grandma. The comma makes a difference. Okay, the next one, the employee shall receive health insurance, and retirement benefits. The next one is the employee shall receive health insurance and retirement benefits. There's a difference between the commas in there. It's a really simple thing that we have to look at. Now let's take it a little step further. We're going to move on to a semicolon. I know we're not talking about grammar here because you don't want to know what my English grade was. However, they do make a difference. So here's a semicolon. The contractor will provide all the necessary equipment. The client will cover maintenance costs. Okay, there's number one. Two is the contractor will provide all necessary equipment. The client will cover maintenance costs. Changing a semicolon to a comma changes the meaning and creates some doubt. Okay, the last one here, payment will be made on January 1st. Work will begin immediately thereafter. Followed by payment will begin on January 1st. Work will begin immediately thereafter. Okay, some of you probably are asking yourselves, well, they sound the same, it's not a big deal. But here's what the legal side looks at. So I'm going to give you a word, an Italian word, you should see that on there now, contra proferentum, okay, which means that if a contract term is ambiguous, it will generally be interpreted against the party who drafted or proposed the contract. The reasoning is that the drafter had the opportunity to clarify the language but failed to do so. So they bear the risk of the ambiguity. This principle is especially relevant in situations where one party, like a professional, we are all professionals, has more power or expertise than others, like the consumer. Courts use it as a way to prevent a party from exploiting unclear terms and might benefit them as an expense of the other. So if a term in the contract can be reasonably interpreted more than one way, the court will typically rule against the party who wrote it. Okay, so then you might ask yourself, why am I bringing this up? There are things that Brianna, and we should all thank Brianna for checking for you, because she's the one looking for commas and semicolons. There's things she's going to ask you to fix. And you're going to look at it and you're going to roll your eyes and say, that's silly. It's kind of like the semicolon. That's silly. Why do I need to fix that? And I'm going to give you 7 things that we've got pushback in the last 6 months on. And I just want you to think about it for a second if you were one of these that did some of the pushback. Number 1, I don't want my client signing the affiliate business agreement. Okay, number 2, fixing incorrect addendum numbers. Put multiple numbers that are the same. Number 3, don't get lead-based paint addendum signed. That's a real big one right now. 4, making your addendums from scratch and not using ones that are already created for you. Number 5, not depositing earnest money on time. 6, checking boxes for clients. Don't check boxes for clients. 7, and the last one I'm going to bring up here is additional earnest money not collected. So when the contract says there's additional earnest money, they're not collected. So you ask yourself, well, those aren't always the big deal, but if you ever get into a problem, the attorneys are going to look for the ambiguity. If there's 2 meanings to it, they're going to look for that. So I'm just going to end with a thought. If you have in climbing, I want you to ask yourself this question: which group falls more often, the experts or the amateurs? And a lot of you might think it's the amateurs, but actually in climbing, the ones that are falling the most are the experts. And the reason the experts are falling the most is because they think they know what they're doing, they stop checking. So all of us who have been in the industry long enough, you're the ones that I want to make sure you're fixing your contracts. So don't get mad at us, we're just trying to help you. Don't make the problem a bigger one, okay? Thanks.
We're just trying to keep your name out of the division newsletter. All right, next, we have a skill set provided to us by Doug Carey. So let's take a listen to what Doug Carey has to say on a skill set.
Why isn't it? One second. It's not working.
So we're gonna have Jeremy come back up and do the dance he was doing at
Can
the
you see
start.
this?
Of
It wasn't a dance,
Oh,
Okay.
they were moves.
Okay,
He's gonna do some
we're
moves.
ready.
Okay, we're ready now. Here we go.
All right, my name's Doug with Century 21 Layton. I've had the good opportunity of recording this a couple times now, so hopefully I do it right and I do it better than ever. So wanted to share something that I have been studying for the last 19 years. It's personality types. We all fall into one of these categories, analytical, driver, amiable, expressive. Now, these names are used in many different books and as different things. This one comes from a book Larry Wilson wrote called Versatile Selling, and look it up. It goes into a lot more detail than me. So here we're going to talk about how do we learn who they are and how do we present to them. So number one important thing to know is we honor people by presenting to them in their personality. So if I am analytical like this, and I'm presenting to somebody that's amiable, by presenting to them like they want to be presented to, I'm honoring them, and I respect them even more, and it's easier to get in rapport, get a great connection, and create a better relationship. So let's talk about analyticals. They're heavy on data. Typically, they're going to be engineers and doctors and attorneys, accountants, definitely. Someone most concerned about details, about numbers. They are low on emotion, and they're very slow to decide. Now, they talk a lot typically. Analyticals and expressives are the ones that talk a lot. So when you hear somebody on the phone talking a lot, and they start talking about details and numbers, square footage, exact dates when things were put into the house, you can say that they're probably going to be an analytical. Ask them what their job is, and you can usually tell most certainly with analytical based on their job. Now, how do I present to them? In a pre-listing package, I'm going to include more stats, more data, more graphs than normal. I'm going to include more comparables than I ever would too. Maybe include a long, brief summary report of all the homes for sale in the area. I use words like system and process in my conversation with them. Let me share with you the process my company and I use to get homes like yours sold. I use my personal stats a lot when competing against other agents. Now, in a driver, the difference is they like data, but they're not going to get caught up in the whole paralysis by analysis like an analytical will. They like to read the data quickly. Most common jobs are business owners, higher level executives, nurses, usually the nurses that run the nurses. They often sound bossy, sometimes sound rude or overbearing. They're low on emotion and quick to decide. So these ones are great on a listing appointment. They make decisions quickly. So how do I present to them? I'm going to have quick elevator pitches on why to hire me. I'm going to use a quick, go through my CMA or my analysis very quickly. My presentation is going to be the shortest with this personality type. They often think they know everything, and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And so you often have to stroke the ego a little bit and say things like, hey, I don't have to tell you, and then tell them what you want to tell them. Close quickly and close often with them. They're the best ones to get to cancel other future agents coming into the door. They don't care, and they're happy to move forward quickly. Amiables are the polar opposite. They're more feeling. They're the ones most concerned about how other people think of them, how other people are feeling. So ways to identify them, they talk a lot about family and friends and memories in the home. As you're walking through a home or hearing about a home, they'll tell you the stories a lot about the house. Common jobs are nurses, teachers, caregivers of any sort. They're high on emotion and slow to decide. When you're on the phone going through a pre-qualification question with them, you'll hear more about why they love the house, more about why they're moving, what's important about the move, and you'll hear the emotion in their voice. How do I present to them? I ask them a lot more questions that revolve around like, how do you feel? What do you love most about your home? What's this going to do for your family? Get to know their family, kids, pets. Make sure they understand how great you think the house is, because you're going to be presenting it to them. I've lost listing appointments before because I didn't express well enough how much I love their house. So make sure you do that. Don't go deep into the numbers. It'll overwhelm them. Now, expressives, they're the life of the party. They usually are the loudest personality and usually the loudest dressed around. Very quick way to identify them. Common jobs are interior designers and buyer's agents. I didn't think of anything else, but can't get them to stop talking usually. So one way to identify them on the phone is if you can't get them to stop talking at all and they're very excited. You hear a lot of emotion in their voice. Now, the great part about expressive, so many great things about all of them, is they make decisions quickly. And that's a wonderful thing. But on a listing presentation, you do need to be careful. They can make that appointment go the longest. So plan more time. Again, show extra excitement because that's who they are and what they're all about. And then direct the presentation with your questions the way you want it to go. You will often have to interrupt them, but they're used to it. That's how they've lived their life. So if you have any questions about personality types, feel free to call me. Happy to help and love to talk about this.
All right, thanks Doug for taking the time to give us some skill sets on that. I love that last part that he said is keep in mind that the expressives are used to being interrupted. I tell my wife that all the time when she complains about somebody in the family that doesn't quit talking. I tell her just interrupt them. They're used to it. They won't care. And they don't care. They're so used to it. So thanks again, Doug. All right, next we're going to go through and talk about our award winners for the quarter. So we're going to start with our $25,000 to $50,000. And here are the people who have made $25,000 to $50,000. Tanner Peck, Fernando Petty, Julie Newey, Emily Solomon, Jenny Frame, Andrew Gingell, Jeremy and Chris Fitzgerald, Chad Kiefer, Tracy Sierra, Dylan Peterson, Bowman Liu, Casey Anderson, Susanna Gonzalez, Jane Hall, Brianna Burnett, Rita Weddle, Bryce Hanson, Aubrey Kelly, Joseph Parker, Zach Prince, Glenn Marie, Andres Fitzgerald, Chad Morris, Brendan Stangus, Perry Ward, Zach Baker, Steve Evans, and then continuing on with $25,000 to $50,000, Trevor Harding, Paul Ahutailoa, Keith Munden, Heidi Castaigne, Shauna Turner, Leah Kruger, Taylor Yates, Robert Naylor, Sean Hilton, Raylyn Hendricks, Jonathan DeYoung, Chris Shirtliff, Alicia Vera, Adam Allred, Louis Rendon, Dave Clough, Dan Brummer, Mike Harris, Blake Dellinger, Steve Boynton, and Alex Nickel. So congratulations to all of those who did $25,000 to $50,000 in the last quarter. We'll now do the $50,000 to $75,000 in the last quarter. Brady Boren, Santiago Mendez, Josh Johnson, Kelly Stoneman, Lila Jessup, Jason West, Delphina Cord, Tyler Higgins, Ruby Reese, Kim Kernow, Steve Schoonover, Amy Clark, Joanna Williams, Alicia Madsen, Aaron Richardson, Kevin Zimba, Aaron Pearson, and Dakota Murdoch. So congratulations to you guys on hitting between $50,000 and $75,000. Now on to $75,000 to $100,000. We have Mike Hancock, Jay Lobdell, Brian and Ruth Ann Noel, Jessica Andresen, Heather Mercer, Josh Skousen, Alan Kantarovich, Curtis Perry, James Hales, and Sherry Peck. Again, that was up to 100,000. So now 100,000 to 150,000 in the last quarter. Emily Aguilar, Jason Snell, Aaron Christensen, Brenda Lee Jones, Jessica Terry, Chad Wagstaff, Justin Crane, Zachary Bunker, Rich Castleberry, and Miriam Drury. That was up to 150,000. 150 to 200,000 in the last quarter. April Oaks, Justin Udy, Doug Carey. So maybe that stuff he just talked about actually works because he made between 150 and 200,000. So Doug Carey, and then Dave Parker. So I would say give him a round of applause, but you guys can clap, I guess, where you're at. All right, 200,000 to 300,000 is Nick Manville and Austin Kales. Congratulations, you two. From 300,000 to 400,000, Amber Milton. Congrats, Amber. And 500,000 to 600,000 is Brian Burnett. Congratulations, Brian. Great job. And then team awards. Our team awards from 25,000 to 50,000 is the Utah Fitzgeralds, Locate Utah Homes, Castaigne Team, Utah Homes, and Salt City Real Estate. That one's a tongue twister. 50,000 to 100,000. Team Elevated, Traverse Advisors, Sea Salt Lake Homes, Richardson Real Estate, the Noel Group, and TC Realty Group. Congratulations to that group. Up to from 100,000 to 200,000 is Utah Brokers, Best Homes of Utah, the Luxury Agency, and UVO Group. Next, 200,000 to 300,000, the Justin Udian Team and Utah Listing Search Team. Congratulations, guys. And next, 300,000 to 400,000, Empire Alliance and the Josh Johnson Team. Between 400,000 and 500,000 is Team Kruger. Congrats, guys. 700,000 to 800,000, Utah Listings. And then from 800,000 to 900,000 is Brian Burnett Real Estate. And finally, 900,000 plus is the Elite Team. Congratulations to the Elite Team. And then as far as commercial awards go, from 75,000 to 100,000 is the Everest Commercial. And I think that's it on our awards. So congratulations, everyone. We're now going to have Jeremy come up and speak to us. And then once Jeremy is done, we'll get to hear from George and we'll go to there. Thanks, guys.
Bring the energy crew. All right, I'm just wondering, should I be this close as I speak to you today? This close? Or back? You tell me what you're most comfortable with, and then I'll change the distance to the camera. Hey guys, I am excited to be with you today. Pumped for the messages. Thanks to Doug, what he shared, and Jason and Russ, of course. And a virtual round of applause to Brittany and Alexis for all they do to make this come together. I hope you're actually clapping. They're incredible. Next, today I want to share a story with you. Several years ago, I had the good fortune of arriving too early for a Dodgers game in Los Angeles at Dodger Stadium. And when I went to the game, I didn't realize I was too early. Somehow got through the parking lot. You're supposed to be able to arrive 2 to 2.5 hours early. I was there 4 hours early. And when I got in, again, I don't know how this happened. I paid for premium parking and somehow they just let me go because they didn't know what to do. And suddenly I'm in the stadium with like 20 other people. And it was really fascinating experience because as I sat there excited to watch and cheer on the Dodgers, I got to see something I'd never seen before. As I sat in the stadium, I started to see players one by one began to come out from the bullpen area, come out from the dugout, and begin to do their warm-ups, begin to do some of their practices, watching them do their stretching and get ready for the game. And I'm seeing them pull out this big batting cage, which I think sometimes you can see that either way, but the point is that I was getting a glimpse into something that I didn't normally have the chance to see. And what I observed from these people who are, making millions of dollars, the best of the best in their field, and really just the coolness factor was off the charts. And I'm seeing, and I actually went down like right front row and started watching these guys. You know, you think you're going to watch these best of the best players trying to hit 100 home runs, diving for catches in the infield, and then maybe trying to rob balls over the fence from a home run, like these really difficult plays. And that the pitchers are out there trying to burn one in 100 miles per hour, right? That's what I'm thinking I'm about to watch. On the contrary, what I experienced was, as I sat there, is I watched the pitchers meticulously and slowly warm up, focused on the exact rhythm, right? Making sure they're making all the right moves. Nothing about what they were doing led me to believe that they cared how fast they were pitching the ball, or even how much the ball was curving or sliding, or any of those details. Next, watching the infield, you know, at the time, huge fan of Justin Turner. I'm watching him thinking, oh, this will be fun to see how cool this is. Nope, he's getting balls hit to him very slowly, casually picking them up and making that throw over to first base like it was nothing. Nothing fast, nothing with too much energy, but they were being accurate. They were doing this in a way that are called routine, which is exactly what it was. These were these top players were following this routine and these routine plays to get the rhythm of the game, practicing those things so that they could be dialed in at the highest level. And I had so much fun watching this. It was really great. I was right up close. I remember watching Kenley Jansen and Clayton Kershaw basically playing catch 20 feet away from me. And then, of course, watching the infielders do their thing, but nothing out of the ordinary, which begs the question, like, when did they get the chance to do that? And I started to realize, well, wait a minute, they are just so good at the routine, so good at the fundamentals of this game that they spent a couple of hours working through before the game. It was so fascinating to see. That's what makes them amazing when they get into a game and they have to make that catch over the wall or dive for that ball in the infield or perhaps throw that pitch that they need to do. What I learned was the fundamentals that they have mastered and that they practiced and warmed up with actually make them capable of excelling at the highest of levels. Well, why does this become so important? Well, hey, look, I've already said I'm a Dodger fan, so you know I'm going to talk about the World Series. And if you look at the World Series, it was pretty fascinating. The Dodgers took a 3-0 lead. Then the Yankees win Game 4. Then we get to Game 5, and the Yankees take an early lead. And I don't know about you, it's never been done in the history where a team came back from 3-0. But in my mind, I had already convinced myself, Dodgers are losing the World Series. It's over. I was devastated. I was texting Austin Kales. I was texting other friends, and we're just like, it's done. They've ruined it. Well, lo and behold, we get to the 5th inning of this game, and kind of interesting. I'm going to let you watch what happened if you haven't already paid attention. Apologies in advance to Yankees fans. Watch it too.
It takes a minute to start.
With a heating up Judge, who settles under this ball, but then drops it. Can Hernandez get to the bag before the throw? He does. Garrett Cole throws, and a ground ball left side. Volpe will go to third in the dirt, and another break for LA. Ground ball right side. Rizzo. Nobody at first. Incredible. Atrocious defense from the Yankees,
play one more
leading
time.
directly to a Dodger run in the 5th. Freeman on 1-2. Into center field, a base hit. 2 more runs will score. The Dodgers take advantage of the bad defense from New York, and this game has changed in the blink of an eye. In the air to left center field. Judge on the run. Dead sprint now to the track, and it's over his head. Bets in to score. Freddie Freeman for the plate, and this game has been turned upside down.
Let me play it again.
Nope, that's great. And some of you are wondering if I was just being cruel showing it twice. Yes,
Absolutely, I was, just kidding. Interesting thing there, right? I'm talking about fundamentals, getting the routine plays done, which in the world of sports, all three of those plays that you just saw would be considered routine, which means a group of 14-year-old kids in West Jordan are probably going to make most of those plays pretty easily. But the top team in the American League just messed them all up. And what was really crazy, guys, they did them all in the same inning. Listen to this. The Yankees, actually, I'll read this. I wrote it down. I screenshot it. New York was one of the worst defensive teams this season, ranking 25th in fielding percentage, while also finishing with the 7th most errors in the league. New York was charged with 93 errors in the regular season, something that the club may need to work on heading into the 2025 season. So look, when I'm watching that happen live, I'm going, fluke, this is crazy. We've never seen anything like it, which we haven't. I mean, again, they normally average maybe half an error per game, but they committed 3 errors in the same inning within minutes of each other. It's insane. 6 times, right? What they would normally do in a game, they did in one inning. But as you think about for a moment, the fundamentals that they were missing out on, these routine plays, and then you see, wait, they were one of the worst teams defensively. Perhaps they need to work on that. You start to look at some of the statistics and you realize, now I don't know this. I've never seen the Yankees practice. I have no idea. But something there was not clicking. And I don't know if you ask the shortstop, Aaron Judge, or Garrett Cole, do they wish or could they have stepped up the practice somewhere, some of those routines? I really don't know. But the point is this, guys, are the fundamentals important? Are making sure your fundamentals in your business, right? We're talking about a game here. Now we shift over to real estate. And how does this apply to you? Absolutely, these fundamentals are essential to the way that you are conducting your business and whether or not you are winning or you're losing. Think about how critical that is. Are you winning or are you losing? The fundamentals play every bit of a huge role in that. So what I've done, guys, I've written down a few thoughts here about the fundamentals of real estate. If you have a pen and a paper, I would write these down because I've got some questions that I'm going to invite you to answer for yourself. I thought about, again, the Yankees and the Dodgers. They're in the World Series, the biggest, most important game. Look, right now is your World Series. This is your biggest, most important moment of your career because it's happening now. You are closing out, right? You have 60 days to close out 2024 and get a great head start into 2025. And it begins today. And so these fundamentals can play a huge role in that. Fundamental number 1, prospecting or lead generation, whatever you want to call it. I've got written down 5 questions about prospecting that I'm inviting you to answer later on your own. It's pretty simple though. Who, what, where, when, why. Right? I call these the 5 W's of prospecting. My belief is that these are so fundamental to your success that if you can simply answer these questions in your business, right? And fill in the blank with whatever you want, but who are you prospecting, right? Who are you connecting with? What are you saying? Where are you when you prospect? Or where are you prospecting to? When are you prospecting? And of course, finally, why are you prospecting? Think about this. If you could answer all of those questions every day before you even step into the office, right? We're talking about a routine. We're talking about a fundamental. We're talking about a system and a strategy. If you could answer anew every day, well, I know who I'm calling. I know what I'm going to say. I know where I'll be when I'm prospecting, when I'll be doing it, and I know why it's critical for me to be doing that. What would that do for your business if you could answer those questions? Do you think you'd get more dollars in your bank account? Do you feel like you'd be selling more homes? Would you be engaging with more people? Do you think the job would be easier for you each and every day? I'm convinced the answer is yes. Number two, I wrote down the second fundamental is presenting. Right? When you've spoken with someone, you have an opportunity to present to them. And I actually wrote down 5 different presentations that I think you should be mastering. Now, these are very quick, but just they should be written down and you should be asking these questions and presenting. Number 1, objection handling. I'll never forget being in a crowd of, I don't know if it was 2,500 people in a room, 5 of the top producers in the whole nation stood on the stage. And there was some worry in the world about discount brokerages and all the different ways in which they're going to interrupt our business. The person leading the discussion wisely brought these 5 people to the stage and said, well, what are you worried about? And it was interesting to watch these 5 people so casually say, I'm the same objections that I've been handling for 20 years are the same ones being presented to me now. And I think you'll find that the same is true in our current real estate climate. So objection handling, how well do you know the objections that you're going to have and how good are you at handling them? This is a fundamental to your business. Next, scripting and scripts. I've written down role play next to this. Are you practicing? If a guy that makes $400 million, right, has to go out on the field and casually throw the ball back and forth to get it right, is it just possible that maybe us in the sales world and in the real estate world, is it just possible that perhaps we should take some of that energy and work on our fundamentals and work on our skill set? You know, if the only time you're asking someone to sign on the dotted line is when you're actually in the room, I bet it would go better if you had asked that question 5 times earlier in a role play session. In fact, I promise it would. How about this? Your listing presentation. Ask yourself this question. Do I have a listing presentation? Do I know what I'm saying? And is it written down? I can acknowledge that there's probably some people listening right now that actually have the same presentation. They say the same things every time, and it's kind of ingrained in your head. I would challenge you to get that written down on paper, right? If you don't have one, we've got great resources in the script books, of course, through ESS and Century 21. Make sure you're looking at that. Make sure you're committing it to memory and understanding how you're using it and why you're using it. Next, I wrote down a buyer presentation. Do you have a presentation for how you're going to get a buyer agreement? Do you have a presentation for helping a buyer understand when you're looking at homes, why you're looking at homes, why they should write an offer on a certain home, why they should write a specific offer on a home, or why a seller should accept an offer, right? Talking about negotiating, presenting here. And then finally, I wrote this down, which is one of my favorite quotes, closing. And a good close, a closing is a natural ending to a good presentation. Guys, there are volumes of books written about how to close a sale. But at the end of the day, if you've presented well, if you're like me, you've sat in a room and the conversation changes from if we work together to when we're ordering photos and when we have showings. Because you presented so well, the close is already there. But you have to put yourself in a position where you're ready to ask them to sign on the dotted line. You must do it. Next, I wrote down, similar to prospecting, but I had to put it in its own separate category, lead follow-up. And pun intended, this is where agents drop the ball. Aaron Judge dropped that ball. Dodgers won. So this is essential to what you're doing. I know for a fact that more deals are lost in our industry from poor follow-up and then just not asking people for their business. Guys, you have got to get committed to a philosophy and a strategy and a system regarding how you're following up with people and what you're saying to them, how frequently you're calling them, and the value that you're bringing to the table. I did Morning Ascent on this just yesterday. It's a fresh topic. You must be committed to your lead follow-up. How am I doing on time?
You've got 13 minutes left.
Oh, I'm going to be way early. Okay, good. I'm talking fast. Next, just again, guys, we're talking about fundamentals. We're talking about the things that should be routine to your business. Pricing. How well do you understand the market? How confident are you when you step in front of a seller or a buyer to be able to tell them what the value is, what it should be, what you can sell the home for? This speaks to a whole other topic of information regarding your professionalism. How bought in are you to what you're doing in your life? How bought in are you to this is the business that you're engaged in and understanding, right? How do interest rates work? How does pricing on a home work? How's the market fluctuating? What was it? What is it now? How confident are you in the way you're approaching that in your business every day? Look, my thought is that when I walk into a home and have an opportunity to present to someone, the more confident that I am about the pricing and the approach that I'm taking with them, the more confident that they will be in that. And if you're like me, I've not taken listings before because I was so certain that my pricing was accurate and that if I was to engage in this transaction, it was likely just going to be either a waste of time and create bad feelings. And so instead, I wanted to get with people who are willing to follow my pricing strategy. But I have a pricing strategy. Do you? Right? You have to have the fundamentals in line. Okay, last thing that I wrote down in the world of just working on our fundamentals is mindset. If I'm looking at this Yankee-Dodger game again and back to that, I have to believe that at least at some level, there were some nerves going on, of course. And that the inability to complete some of those routine plays, yes, could be a symptom of the way in which they're practicing or working on the fundamentals or whatever. But we're talking about world-class players here. I think every one of us could catch a little mercy and a little grace in the world that sometimes it just gets a little tough up here and maybe in here. My thinking would be this is twofold. What are you doing to create a strong mindset? And number two, what are you doing to protect the strong mindset that you've already built? And look, I would say if you take a look at this company and everything that we do to try to help you accomplish your goals, I would invite you right now to participate at a higher level. Every single morning, you've got morning ascent going on. That strengthens your mindset. If you don't think walking out of this room after you have shouted, given yourself affirmations, talked about what you're grateful for, and heard an inspiring message is not the right way before you go get on a phone call, you're insane. You've got to come and participate if you're engaged in this business. And then, of course, we're talking about your base camps and preaching to the choir because you're here for Summit, but participating and engaging at the highest of levels is only going to strengthen your mindset and allow you the opportunity to continue to keep it strong, even when tough times come around. So guys, this is your moment. I really believe it. This is your World Series. You're the last couple months of 2024. My belief is that there are people out in the Salt Lake Valley, Utah County, wherever you're working with, Weaver. There are people right now that you haven't even met that you could help them in their real estate goals before the end of this year. You just have to find a way of connecting with them. Go out and find them. And I know for a fact that if you continue to work on these fundamentals, your prospecting, your follow-up, your presenting, all of that good stuff, highly unlikely you're going to have any major errors that are going to cost you the business. In fact, on the contrary, if you're able to dial those in, it's only going to create more confidence in what you're doing and more enjoyment, and you're going to go get that job done. But it starts with beginning right now to make that decision to move forward. I love that quick line that a journey of 1,000 miles starts with just one step. So guys, get that step headed in the right direction. Keep working on those fundamentals. Finish out 2024 with all the strength you can. And can't wait to see what you do, guys. Thank you so much. I can hear you clapping all over the state right now. I love you. I'm coming in. Bring it in for a hug. Come on. Thanks, guys. All right.
Well done. All right, how's everybody doing? Oh, great. Except for the Yankees. my childhood, but you know what, ever since California, I was convinced, aren't you really just a Dodgers fan anyway? So, all right, I'm just gonna glance at this, but hey, guys, I'm excited to be with you, for a lot of reasons. One, we don't normally have an end of the year summit, but I love the fact that we're doing one. So as we move through today, just in the minutes that I have, and again, thank you, Jeremy, Alexis, of course, Brittany, and then, Russ, you were very entertaining. Well done on the MC, and nice job, Jason. So, and Doug, you're always great. So I love it. All right, so with that, I'm gonna have to make sure I stand in one place and not wander like a caged lion in the room here. But as we move through today, I just want you to think about a few things. I want you to think about where you won, where you lost. You know, a lot of years ago, and I say a lot of years ago, I think it's over 15 years ago, I sat with a small group of the organization. And one of the things that I did is I talked about basically the difference between winning and losing. Now, one of the most important statements I have made to my children, and I will make it, I'm sure, to the end of my days, is that winning is in the details. And one of the things that I've concluded on is that I continue to look around is that people are continuing to lose at the game of real estate. Now you may say, wait a second here, but I thought this was going to be a motivational message, and it is. But I want to ask you just a question. And the question I would ask you is, are you winning or are you losing? I guess that's two questions, but you get the point. Are you winning or are you losing? And the question really remains in the fact of where you choose to put your focus. So one of the things that I've prided ourselves in within the game of real estate, but specific to Everest, the brokerage, and of course in Spiro and anything that we've ever built and ever developed. And that is building the right foundation. Now, many of you may be aware of the fun little story of the bamboo tree. And it's been told truly from the stage of this company, probably 2 or 3, maybe 4 or 5 times over the years. And I have never personally shared it, but I've heard it from a few people. In fact, it might have been Jeremy or John or something. But over the years, I've realized that part of building the right foundation is getting deep, deep, deep roots. And if you know the story of the bamboo tree, is you plant the seed, and the first year you water it, you give it nutrition or fertilizer, and literally you feel like nothing has happened. Then another year goes by, you fertilize it, you water it, you let sunshine, hopefully bleed down into the ground. Again, you feel like nothing has happened. And for 5 years, this will continue with a bamboo tree, or the potential of a bamboo tree, as it continues to set roots deep within the soil. And on the 6th year, approximately, give or take, is that all of a sudden in that 6th year, it will rise to over 90 feet in less than a 6-week period of time. That's the speed in which it grows. So here's my question for you. What type of foundation are you building? What are you building to strengthen your future? I see a lot of people right now where they are not engaged in their life and in their business. They're trying to escape their life and their business. And all of us are guilty of that throughout our lives. There's times where we want to escape, and there's times that we engage. And sometimes when the challenges become so great and so overwhelming, we run from the very challenges that we're supposed to engage in. So for me, as I continue to observe in people, as I watch a number of people losing. Now, a lot of people say, well, wait a second here. The scoreboard of economics isn't showing the fact of my victory. Well, the question then remains, though, still, what type of foundation are you building? And what are you engaged in to build the foundation so that you can absolutely rise up like if you were that bamboo tree, where within days and weeks, even Napoleon Hill in his book, Think and Grow Rich, talks about the fact that when the money shows up, it happens so swiftly and so quickly. You will ask the question, where was this money when I needed it most? So the question is, are you building a foundation that is going to stand the test of time? And are you modifying and strengthening and improving that foundation so that you can stand the test of time in this game that we all call real estate? And if you can do that, you have a really good chance of tremendous success, not only in your personal or professional life, but also in your personal life. So here's a handful of questions I want to ask you. As I observe, there's a few places, or maybe a lot of places, where people are losing. So here's the question. Are you losing at taking responsibility? What seems to be prevalent, especially on a day like today, right? It's the day of the election, is that the point of blame, the point of being a victim, the point of looking around and literally taking on no responsibility is a key factor to being a great winner in the game of business. But the challenge is if you continue to look around and blame everybody around you, or become a victim, or to be critical and to criticize, it is unlikely that you are going to win at a high level. I mean, that is basic 101, as we all know, in our Think and Grow Rich statements that we make every single day inside this organization. So the challenge is are you in a place today where you're pointing a finger while three more are pointing right back at you? Are you in a place where you've become a victim of the market and the rates and the challenges? Are you someone who is being critical and looking around everywhere where you can blame or victimize instead of doing the one thing that will change the whole course of your life, which is taking responsibility for your life? So the challenge for each one of us is it is a lot easier to blame, to be a victim, and to criticize. The great ones, the people who seem to be the most extraordinary leaders that I want to emulate, are the people who take full responsibility for the challenges, the adversity. There's no great stories in life where there's not tremendous adversity. There's no great movie that you watch where there was not tremendous adversity and they triumph over it. So dance with the adversity. Take a step back and stop the blame, stop the victimization, stop the criticism, and take on the responsibility. Because there's going to be a day, especially if you're a parent, where you tell a child, where you say, look, you can become anything you want. Anything. Dream. Just this last weekend, as I'm sitting there in the audience, 10 rows away, 20 feet away from Adele. And I'm watching tears run down the cheek of my daughter, Bella. And it was like one of the great moments. And as we walked out of the theater, out of the Coliseum at Caesar's Palace, I said, don't forget to dream. And I said, just know I will always have your back. You get choked up about it, but I'll always be there for you to dream. So the problem is that if you don't have a dream, you're probably the criticizer. You're the victim. You're the blamer. So the challenge is to ask yourself, have you taken responsibility for the outcome of where your life is? Good or bad? The great moments, the bad moments. Have you taken responsibility if a home hasn't sold or is selling? Have you taken responsibility if you have appointments or don't have appointments? The challenge is that when you don't take responsibility and you're out there promoting this idea that, hey, no matter what, to even a child, you can become anything you want. At some point along the way, they will figure you out. And they will ask the question, maybe to you directly, or they will ask it within themselves, how come you say that, but you didn't do that? Well, the challenge is that if you don't take responsibility for your life, you have not even a remote chance of living your dreams. If you don't take responsibility for the challenges, the adversity, the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, you have no chance. So just take a step back and recognize that where you are in your life today is ultimately because of you. Because the only one who can get you out of it is you. No one's coming to save you. No one's coming to rescue you. No one's coming to, on the white horse to say it's all going to be fine. It's you. And once you begin to realize that no one's coming to save you and that you're the responsible party, you can then step into it. And just like the story goes, whether it's the buffalo or the cows in a great windstorm or rainstorm or snowstorm, the buffalo puts its head down and drives through the storm. Or you can be like the cow where you run from the storm and you stay even in that storm longer because of the way in which you engage in responsibility. So first and foremost, don't be losing at the game of responsibility. Second, a lot of people are losing their character. And they're losing their character because they don't even recognize what they value. So what is character? Character is a set of values. What tears relationships apart, what tears marriages apart, great friendships apart, is people's character. But what is that? Well, it's what they value. It's their value possibly of even politics, right? The big day, November 5th, here we are. It's the value of the religion. It's the value of their spirituality. It's the value of how they discipline maybe a child. It's their value of fidelity or infidelity. It's their value of friendship. It's their value of trust. It's your values that create your character. So when was the last time you asked yourself what you value? Because what you value equates to your character. So do you value others? Do you value love? Do you value kindness? Do you value peace? Because who you are is a set of values. It is what is displayed, if you would say, to your family, to your business, to the people you serve, the people you give your life to. So ask yourself, what is it that you value? What makes up your character? If someone sat with you and they were totally honest and they said, hey, let me tell you what I perceive your values to be, would you be okay with it? Would you? I still will never forget the moment. Some of you have heard this story, just a few of you, but I remember when I said to Kenzie years ago, probably 10 or 15 years ago, I said, hey, thought it was going to be a really cool moment. I said, hey, what do you think, your dad represents? What do you think your dad believes? What do you think your dad thinks? And her words were literally this. She goes, oh, that's easy. She goes, don't be a loser. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is not what I want you to actually think. And so for that many years since then, I made it an absolute focus to recognize, wait a second here. My children have to value things different than just say, hey, don't be a loser. And what I realized really quickly right at that moment was, how am I displaying what I value? How do you? How do you value discipline? What foundation are you building in relationship to this business? If you aren't taking responsibility, if you don't have a strong character, it is likely you are not making very much money. Why? Because the byproduct of your character, your values, and the values and the character traits of your responsibility is how you earn money. So if you're losing, challenge yourself to look at your values and your character. Challenge yourself to look at the way in which you take responsibility. And are you critical? Are you blaming? Right? Are you being a victim? And if you are, again, I can just tell you, it is unlikely that you're earning a tremendous amount of money. It's just not going to happen. They don't go hand in hand. Lots of money, poor character. Lots of money, I take no responsibility. Now, if you just want to feel good, that's a different story. Well, I want to feel good so I don't have to look at myself. So I'll point the finger at other people. I'll be critical of other people. I'll blame other people. I'll be a victim to other people. I'll take no responsibility. I'll have low character traits. So therefore, I'm going to feel good about myself because I don't have to take any of it on. I know that's not who you are, but there's a lot of things that I'm watching agents lose at. So here's the third. They're losing at their belief. Look, fundamentally, you have to have a strong belief in what is possible. What is your belief? It's literally what you make a decision of. Some of us aren't that conscious. Sometimes we just believe what others told us. Some of us just believe what others say. Some of us believe just influencers that are on TV. Some of us just believe like, well, if this person endorses that person, I guess that's what I believe. And the great tragedy is we may have a set of beliefs, but we're looking outside of ourselves everywhere for someone to validate what we believe so we can feel good about it. And we're so committed to just simply feeling good that we never even challenge the fact of what we do or don't believe. So if you're losing, typically you're losing because you don't have a strong belief. So what do you believe? What do you believe about this business? What do you believe about prospecting? What do you believe, like Jeremy talked about, lead follow-up, attention to details, right? I mean, you start looking really close, you start to realize, oh wait, it's pretty easy to see what people believe. It doesn't matter what they say, it's reflected in what they do. It's reflected in the results of their life based on their beliefs. If you believed prospecting works, you would do it. If you believed you could sell a listing, you'd sell it. If you believe that you can work a buyer, you'd be working them. Because even today, people are having some of the most successful years of their life based on what they believe. So what do you believe? And can you change your beliefs? My goodness gracious, the last several months, all it's been about someone trying to get you to change your beliefs in a political fashion. Why are there so many different religions out there? Because someone else is always trying to get you to believe the way they believe. Right or wrong, that's what they're doing. So that's what a great parent does, is to try to persuade a child to believe a certain way. So again, I go back to, man, if no one told you what to believe, and I've said this for years, if no one told you what to believe, what would you believe? What do you believe about this business? Do you believe that you're the best agent? Do you believe that you can get the job done? And then the question I've added over these last few years is, do you believe it's a good time to buy or sell a piece of property? So what happens? You walk into a listing appointment, you say, hey, let's get going. They scratch their head, can't put their finger on it, wonder why they don't choose you. And it's because you lack the belief. And they map you out, discern you, have a gut check, and they go, man, I don't know if I can work with that person. Not because I don't like them, but something seems off. Well, what typically is off is the fact that you have lost your belief. And if you've lost your belief, can you recreate it? Absolutely. Your personal reality, the realities of your life, are based on your personality. How you believe, what you think about your beliefs, how you feel about your beliefs, how you act through your beliefs equals the results of your life. So you want to change your reality? Change your personality. You'll say, well, is there something wrong with me? No. Hey, I'm okay with whoever you choose to be. But the question isn't, am I okay? The question is, are you okay? So if you want to change the outcome of your life, you want to change the results of your life, then change the beliefs within your life. Because you are literally one decision away from a new life. One decision from a new life. And yet we will stay stuck in a coordination of certain beliefs, feelings, actions, and thoughts. And so we ask ourselves, well, wait a second here, how come it's not changing? Oh, you know what I'll do? I'll just go blame everybody else and take no responsibility. So imagine a life where you took a strong stance in your beliefs. Imagine a life where you had a strong character because you recognize, man, this is what I believe, this is my values. And oh, guess what? I'm done blaming anybody else and everybody else for my problems. I will take responsibility for them. That doesn't mean everything works out. That doesn't mean everything's perfect. Heavens, again, the great stories of life and humanity are where there was tons of adversity. And you rose above it because you said, man, there is no way I'm stopping here in the middle of the mountain and dying on the side of the hill. There's people who have done it. So the question I go back to is, man, who's going to show up? The winner or the loser? The winner or the loser? And if you're going to build a foundation, like I'm talking about in relationship to a bamboo tree, and have depth to your character, to how you take responsibility, to how you believe, then all of a sudden you start to craft a whole different life. Now here's another place I'm seeing people lose. They're losing in the way they participate. They want so much life to be so much easier. And yet ask yourself, do you really know how to answer questions solidly? Have you really taken the time to step back and go, wait a second here, how am I participating? Do I engage? Do I associate with the right people? Do I align with people with the same, whether it be moral compass, whether it be a business focus, whether it be a challenge of how much money or how many deals, and are you with the right group? If you don't participate at a high level, it is almost next to impossible. But here's the thing that's interesting. People try to escape their very participation, thinking that life will be better without it. The reality is it is very rare. As I've said for years, there is no healing in isolation. You don't heal alone. You might be able to gather some thoughts for a moment in your solace and being alone. But man, you don't heal and become more just alone. It is the engagement of other human beings. It is just like the cell that is in our body, that if it gets isolated and is all alone, it dies. However, if it associates with, let's just even say, the bad cells or the cancer cells, it is destroyed. But if that cell aligns and communes with other great and positive structured cells, it flourishes. So how do you participate? How do you arrive in this game we call real estate? Are you a lone wolf? Are you doing it all alone? Because if you are, I can promise you, you are probably rarely highly successful. Be a participant, not a bench warmer. Be in the game, not just sitting in the audience. Be contributing and be participating so that you can win the greatest story of your life, which is the game we call real estate. How you will build wealth, live your dreams, create a legacy. How cool is that? All right, last thing I want to just mention to you is the way in which you build your environment. I used to interview a lot of people when they come and go in the company, not necessarily agents, if that makes sense, but employees. And one of the first questions I would always ask an employee who I was potentially looking at hiring, hey, is your closet and the trunk of your car clean? Now, I want to point something out to you that what I've often found, if their closet is disorganized, if their trunk is disorganized, it is usually a sign of what's going on in their life. And you say, well, it's always true? Not 100%. I'm not saying that it is, but man, there's something to the order of your environment. So look, go clean your car, go clean your trunk, go clean your room, go clean your closets. Why? Because how you do anything is how you do everything. And there is an order and a precision to life. And the more orderly and more organized you are in your life, the better your systems, the better your structure, the better the tools, the better off your life is. So just remember how important it is. Jennifer's looking like, hey, wait a second here, clean the closet. But my point is I promise you that the more orderly you are, it is a sign of the more order that you have inside of your own mind. Your outside is a reflection of the inside. I'm telling you that if you pay attention to how you conduct the order of your life and the way in which you order, how things are orderly or not ordered in your life, I promise you it has an impact. Don't underestimate the impact of the outside has an impact on the inside. Look, for every single one of us, you're on a journey to creating an extraordinary life. You're going to have days where you have moments where you are flourishing, and you will have days and you'll have moments where you feel like nothing is ever working. You know, I said this not too long ago, but I've said it also for years, that if you move through this market, you start to recognize that these are very unique markets. I've been doing this for 30 years and a few months at this point. I say that to you because I've seen 5 market declines. This one is very unique. There used to be a day not too many years ago, some of you will remember, where you were able to say to a potential buyer, hey, if you buy this home, your loan payment, your house payment will be lower than the rent that you pay. Today, that's not necessarily true. In most cases, in today's place, in this country, specifically even Utah, is that the fact is that the house payment is now more expensive than a rent payment. But there's still so many opportunities to be able to buy a home, and it still is a very good decision. Why? Well, why? Because of the taxes. Why? Because values will continue to increase. Why? Because you're building a future for yourself. And I'm not going to get into the dynamics and the arguments of whether home ownership and the eventualities of it and different investments. We're not an investment club. We're a sales club. But what I am certain of in this business is that you have the capacity to earn a tremendous amount of money to build extraordinary wealth. But it starts on the way in which you build your character, the way you take responsibility, the way you believe, the way you participate, the environments that you create. That's how you win. And some of us are just sitting around waiting for a different market. And yet I believe we're on the cusp with some of the greatest moments in history when it comes to Utah. From whether it's the excitement of a new hockey team to the excitement of the fact, or maybe not so exciting if you would not like a population increase, but look, there's 50,000+ people net gain inside of this state that we live in. You have more people moving into it than are even being born here. You have the Olympics. You have so many things that are happening that are positive for the state of Utah. And yet, even the tragedies of divorce and death, or job loss, or the positives of job promotions and people saving money and wanting to buy their first home or buy their first investment. There are opportunities everywhere. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to find the right recipe. But what I can promise you is you don't find the recipe for success in just waiting for the markets to change. Hence, I go back to some people having the greatest moments of their life in the game of real estate. Why? My belief is they believe different. They act different. They feel different. Some people have even said, well, they're so new into this business, they don't really understand it and know it. Is that true? Maybe they understand that no matter what, homes will be bought and sold no matter what the markets are doing. Some markets are buyers markets, some buyers are sellers market. And my job is to get you to focus on the right stuff. And the right stuff is that it's a great time to buy. You're the best agent for the job. You have enough resource and availabilities to resources, tools, and systems and strategies and leadership to do any deal if you want to get it done, as long as it's moral, ethical, and honest. So I just would point to you that if you are wondering where the deals are, well, you have to get busy and take responsibility for this market that you're in. And it's not to be critical of you, it's to say, come on, let's go. And let's go together. And some of you, again, are just sitting there going, man, I just want it to be easier. But in the great words of the late Jim Rohn, who said, stop wishing it was easier and start wishing you were better. The reality is that you can earn the money. You can make the difference. You can take charge of your life. But the challenge is that, like so many people have spoken for so many years, is people want change to happen so quickly and rapidly, and yet you've lived a lifetime or for years in a different mindset. And the moment you change your mind, you think it's supposed to happen instantly. Hence, two fundamental words to success: patience and perseverance. Persevere. Keep going. But be patient. Keep going. Yeah, but it's supposed to be patient, but it's supposed to happen faster. No, be patient. Keep going. And some people have given up. And because everyone hasn't heard this, I told it last week or 2 weeks ago, but I'm always so grateful for my journeys in the times I've climbed and hiked and, gone up mountains and down them. Why? Because my favorite stories is Kings Peak, 13,568 feet, highest mountain in Utah. One of my favorite things to do with people. And I've done it for years. I've done it well over 10, maybe as many as 15 times. There was a time where I didn't miss it for over 10 years. And I would go up and I got so familiar that I knew there was 2 fault summits before the top. And so you get to that first fault summit and people thought they'd arrived, and yet you haven't. And how many of you have been faked out by today's rates that happened back in April or May? We thought, okay, here we go, back on track, life's gonna get better. And yet, it didn't. So there you are. If you were with me, I'd make you stop. And I'd make you turn around. And then the wind would be howling, almost always is, as you get closer to the top. And it's howling, and I make you look. And I say to you, look how far you've come. You've got 18.5 miles to get to that point right there, to a false peak. How many of you could relate? How many of you can see the fact of how hard you've worked, and you thought you'd arrive, and you thought it would be easier. You thought it would be a little bit just not so hard. And yet, you got to keep going because you're not at the top. So then you go to the next false peak. And for me, I actually think that was this last few months. Back in September, a little bit of October, we started to see a really big rate decline. Everyone's like, yes, okay, it's happened. Here you are at that second false peak. And people take a deep breath if you're on Kings Peak with me and you sit there and go, man, seriously, we gotta keep going, seriously? Yep, you gotta keep going. But the good news is on that third peak, it's the top. And you have these panoramic views as you see, you'll feel like you can look all the way to the ends of the earth. It is spectacular for those of you who have been there. So here's my challenge to you. You're gonna have false peaks that are gonna continue to happen in this business. Rates, elections, loan programs, bad and tough clients, tough inspections, you name it, it's gonna come at you. Aren't you built for this stuff? Haven't you prepared your whole life, no matter how old you are, for these difficult or challenging and tough moments? Weren't you built to have, weren't you constructed? Being a person of faith, I believe you were constructed by something bigger than you. But even if you weren't you constructed to be able to handle every disappointing moment? Weren't you constructed and created to have and to overcome every challenge, every loss, every heartache, every heartbreak, every disappointing, discouraging, depressing moment? Weren't you already built for all of that? Were you built to overcome all of the tragedy, all of the challenges that life can bring? Weren't you created that way? There was no promise to you that there wouldn't be times of struggle and disappointment and challenge. No, there was never that promise. Now, do we want it to be less challenging? Of course. Would we like it to be a little bit easier? Of course. Would we like it to not be so tough? Yeah, of course. Some of you are inches, if not just a few feet from gold. From your mindset to your skill sets to your disciplines. And some of you are running from the very moments of your greatest moments in business. Don't run. Engage. Put your head down. Go to work. Participate. Take responsibility. Build your character. Understand your values. Create the right environment. Challenge your beliefs. Because no great story ever occurred without adversity. So if you want to master your life, master the message and the story that you tell yourself. You want to master the game of real estate, stop convincing yourself it's supposed to be easier and recognize that the story maybe is you were built for these moments. You were built to go through tough moments. You were built to be challenged. You were built to overcome because you were. And if you don't have chills, I do. Not because I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, but because I know that's what I was built to do. To overcome the challenges of every single moment that comes to you. So are you. I'm no different than you. I put my pants on one leg at a time, just like you. I'm a human being, just like you. The challenge for each of us is, where do we allow ourselves to go? Down into the rabbit hole, the black hole of the abyss of depression, sadness, discouragement. It's so tough. Or do you rise all above that and say, man, what is possible for me? What is it that I could possibly do? Who is it that I could become? What was I built for? What is my purpose? What do I believe in? What is my greatest values? What shapes my character? That's entirely up to you. No matter how much I may yell, scream, be passionate, engaging, strive, push, shove, drive a message. At the end of the day, it is up to you because you're the only one. You are one decision away from the greatest life ahead of you. And maybe the decision is your discipline. Maybe it's the decision of your character. Maybe it's the decision of how you participate. Maybe it's the decision of how you believe. I don't know, but I do know this, that there is nothing you cannot overcome. There is nothing that you cannot be. And if you choose that, then you choose a life that, yes, will have adversity, yes, will have challenge, but you will overcome it because you can. The number of times that people that have told me what I can't do, what will not happen, how it won't work out, how it's not going to be, who do you think you are, is a mile or two long. But every time, if you can just for a moment take a step back and recognize that miracles occur, unexplainable things happen. There are moments that are not just coincidental. The unexplainable, the magical, the mystical, the miraculous still occur. So if that's the case, then why is it that you aren't earning the money you want to earn? Why is it that you aren't doing what you want to do? Why is it that you're not having the success? Why? Because it is the refinement of your psychology, your emotions, and your actions. It is part of the journey. And it is one of the most beautiful moments of the journey because it refines you and creates a better version of you. So again, you can go back to what I started with: criticism, blame, victimization. Don't challenge your beliefs. Don't shape your character by the things you value. Don't worry about your environment. Don't worry if you don't participate, because all of those things you just simply don't feel like doing. But this is the challenge. The pathway to poverty is to just simply do on the days that you just feel like doing whatever you feel like doing. That's the pathway to poverty, doing just what you feel like doing. But if you want an extraordinary life, you want an extraordinary character, you want an extraordinary belief system, you want an extraordinary environment, you want an extraordinary level of life, then it comes down to simply one thing: how you regulate and negotiate with yourself. How you choose to feel has nothing to do with the character, excuse me, and the beliefs, the structure, and the life that you're going to build. Remember, this company is built on the idea of you becoming the best version of yourself. People have asked me, hey, why haven't you retired? Why aren't you done? Two reasons I would give you. One, I know the work is not complete inside this organization. Second, I'm still having fun doing it. And so if I stop having fun, well, we won't keep doing it. Doesn't mean I don't have tough times. Sometimes I don't have the answer for everything. And sometimes I don't know what I'm going to do next in regards to solving a challenge or a problem. That's not the issue. In reality, it's actually kind of fun. But if you've lost this idea that you can't do this business, then come talk to me. Talk to another leader, talk to another, reshape your future based on what you believe and where you put your focus. There's nothing about this business you can't do. There is nothing about this business you can't learn. So if that's the case, then go do it. It is always my privilege to spend time with you. Remember, you have a choice to either stay the same, to get worse, or to get better. I'm choosing to get better. I hope that you are too, to become a better version of you, to play the game of life at such an extraordinary level. Because of all the adversity, because of all the challenges, you became the best version of you. It is the mission and the responsibility of this organization to assist you in becoming the best version of you. And if you are committed, well, I already know we are. And if we're both committed, watch out. It will be incredible what you accomplish. So thank you. Have an extraordinary rest of the week. Let's have a great end to the year. Stay the course, and you got this. Thank you for your time. All right, there we go.